Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. The ambassador will not be joining us today, but he will return for our next GoldFish Report. And today we're going to talk about the media, and being that the GoldFish Report is kind of part of the alternative media, we really kind of encounter a lot of challenges with respect to the topics that we report and the sources that we get our information from. And so we're going to talk about that today, and we have very special guests with us to do that. So I wanted to introduce Sergeant Dan McBolin. Hi, Dan. Welcome to the GoldFish Report.
Hi. It's good to be here. And like I said, Miles has the proof of life in his presence.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that. We also have Miles Johnson joining us from the Basis Project. Welcome, Miles.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't know who you were talking to, but I've got the real deal here. This is the real Dan McBolin. This is the actual guest that you've got. The one you've got is, of course, a clone. This is the actual Dan with a smiley face, and I'll be eating him later on in the show.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Miles.
But I'm here as well.
We have with us, joining us also, is Captain Max Steele and his wife, Nicole. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you again for allowing me to be here with all you beautiful people here. And Dan, I know you're not a clone.
Nicole, thanks for coming back. I'm so glad you're with me today. Another woman, woo, to share the GoldFish Report with, and I'm happy to share it with you.
Thank you, Miss Lisa, and hello, everybody. And I'm happy to be here.
Okay, and we also have our GoldFish Report team member, Steve. Thanks for joining us, Steve. And we know that you're hurting because our time zones. You're on the other side of the world, and you're joining us anyway. So thanks for being with us again.
Hi there. Glad to have everybody here. And even if you're not a clone, Dan, happy to speak to you.
Thank you.
Excellent. This issue of cloning is come up, and even with Hillary Clinton. And what I'd like to do is just screen share. Oh, wait a second. I almost ended this whole recording just now. We kind of have a little surprise to share with our viewers today. And honestly, this election has really affected and impacted everybody. And all the kids are talking about it in schools, and they're really trying to learn about our political process. And I just want to share right off the top a little video that was made, and for everybody to enjoy. So here we go.
Today, I'm going to introduce candidates for you. First is Hillary Clinton. Miss Clinton?
Hello, I'm Hillary Clinton.
And what do you have to say?
I would like to say we are going to make the world a better place by working together.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you. Our next candidate is Donald Trump. Donald.
Hey, get those headphones. Get those headphones.
What do you have to say to our viewers today?
We're going to build a wall, and it's going to be huge.
And Miss Clinton, do you have a response to that?
Yes, I do.
And what is your response? No, it's the clown. The clown. Oh, it's got body parts.
Hey, they don't.
Miss Clinton, please behave yourself. Please, that's so unbecoming of a presidential candidate. Mr. Trump, what do you have to say about that clown terrorizing all the American cities?
His face is huge.
What are you going to do if you're elected president? Miss Clinton, calm down.
I'm going to build a wall, and we'll get Mexico to pay.
That's going to be tough. Miss Clinton, what are those body parts doing in your hand?
Those body parts, it's no big deal. It's just part of Donald Trump's old legs.
Okay.
It's no legs right here.
Candidates, thank you very much for giving us this update. Donald, did you have another message? Okay. And Mrs. Clinton, do you have another message for our viewers? Yes?
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Well, that's your update for today, folks. And that's an update for our election. And God help us and God bless America. Okay, folks. So, I mean,
They seemed more real than the candidates that I see on television.
Well, yes, here in the United Kingdom, that is the most sense we've seen of the entire election for 10 years.
There you have it. I mean, you know, it's kind of very, you know, you had Hillary Clinton there with all the body parts, and it's kind of, you know, she got him off the email server, the people from this email server. I don't know what they were talking about there. But I mean, you know, it's kind of been a joke here. And America has really been kind of, you know, the, I keep doing that, the laughing stock of the world. And now here I came across, hold on a second. I came across, oh yeah, there was a little bit more to that, but that's okay. Let me see. No, I decided not to talk about, I'm sorry. I was gonna pull something else up, but I decided not to do it. But there's been, you know, there's been a lot of satire about this all over the place. But, you know, and there's only so much you can really take seriously about this election and about the WikiLeaks and about, you know, it's all very serious subjects, but we have to have some fun with it, don't we, Miles?
Well, yeah, and it is actually, it's goddamn serious, you know, and I was going to say something serious, but I mean that's a lot of fun. But this is taking the status of the most serious office in the United States of the world into complete disarray.
Yeah,
I don't think,
and you can see that, you know, I mean, just from, you know, the youth get it. They get it. The youth are way ahead of us. I have to tell you that this was spontaneous. This wasn't pre-planned. So the fact that they're acting this out because they see this on television, they get what's going on, and they kind of, the kids even see the ridiculousness of the election, and they don't understand it to the extent that we do, but still it's...
Well, they do because it's at their level. That's why they understand it. It's kindergarten.
Exactly.
That's why they get it.
Yes. In this country, you're not allowed to send that a 7-year-old will have to ask her mother about.
Well, you know, I mean, but some of this information that we come across is, I don't know how much you can believe. And so, so one of the things that, you know, we're doing today.
I turned my phone off, okay?
I'm sorry. I know. I should know better. Sorry.
Yes, you should.
Like a camera, Miles.
You should know. You should.
Okay, Miles. One of the things we want to really focus on today is the fact that there's disinfo stories that are out in the alternative media, and it's dizzying because we can't keep up with it. And one of the stories we're going to talk about today is why Sergeant McBolin is joining us, because Miles, maybe you want to start this out, because I know that everybody on this panel today has actually been, I should say, fallen victim to this story in one way or another. So it's Dan's story is very personal to all of us, and I want you to start now. What do you have there? Is that the real Dan McBolin that you have there?
That's the real Dan McBolin, and it's on the real mug of Richard Tricky Dicky D Hall, who runs a TV show here in the UK, because it's not Tricky Dicky Hall, it's a Bob Lazar mug. Anyway, that's just, I don't want to bust Dan's legs off before I'm going to eat him. Sorry, so I'll have to be careful with this now. Really,
but I mean, we know we know that at one of your conferences that you had featured a presentation about that included, it wasn't only about Dan, but it had included some a story that was, you know, profound about Dan being deceased and having become a clone. So I'll let you take it from there, and then we can kind of flesh out what happened, because even Max, I mean, everybody here kind of had been associated with that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure how wide this had been, and I mean, I have a lot of respect. It came as a shock to me, honestly. That
Right.
I mean, the three team members had seemed really, really close. But the other thing which involved it was the contact in the desert thing, which actually that Dan referred to, I think, that about it being a sort of an ET, a reptilian feeding frenzy.
Yes, it was really a contact in the desert because they were walking among us.
Yes. Now, see, I was 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago, I was at the Starworks conference. I was, shall we say, suggested I go down at Laughlin, run by Paola Harris or Paola Harris. And that was quite a serious event for me because what had happened with Casbolt in my presentation of Casbolt in the basis of the barge, I was close to a no-fly. I'd set whatever happened there really caused some ruptions. So, but the point was, what I didn't realize was that Bob Brown was there. He was one of the original, he founded the International UFO Congress, for those who don't know who Bob Brown is. And contact in the desert today is a few people. I don't know how many go to that conference, maybe 1,000 or something, 400 or 500. Bob Brown explained to me that in the 1950s, there were 35,000 people there, if not more.
Wait, Miles, I think it's time for your injection, my friend. Hold on, here. Give me Bendy. Come on, give me a bend. Bendy over here. Come on.
I'm not going to bend it. Is this a fun injection or?
Max, it's time for your injection. Let's go. Wait, because we're gonna be zombies now. Come on.
You're gonna be zombies.
Bend over. Where's Nicole? Nicole and
here.
Let's do it, everybody. There you go. Nice and tight. Sit nice and tight. There you go.
That marks the spot.
That was that. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Miles.
Here it comes again.
I just had to make sure that everybody got their vaccination. So you can keep going.
Oh, I've got headaches now.
You know, but
Matthew Williams piss take. Oh yeah.
You know, that's why I have the zombie here, because this is what happens when you take these injections, and the zombie's here to remind us that. But anyway, so Dan, how can we be sure it's really you? Max has been a friend of yours for a long time. Max, how do we know this is really Dan? Nicole, you know Dan. How do we know this is really Dan?
Well, I know Dan since when I used to work in Area 51 and S4. And believe me, there's only one Dan. And that's Dan right there. Because he's been a good friend, and we, I just started communicate with him last year. But I always told you when you were being told that he was a clone and all that, and I specifically said to you that he's not dead, he's not a clone, he's still alive. I kept telling you, am I right?
You did, Max. You did, and you actually wouldn't let me give up on the whole story, because and I felt it. I knew it, and I believed you that that. I don't know what it was about you, but I knew that you were telling me the truth. And Nicole, I mean, how were you sure about this?
I was sure because when I saw the pictures, I know there can be variance on how you look, even within a short period of time. And what Dan had been going through in the desert was very traumatic. And as far as him having longer hair and gray, you know what? That happens sometimes to people when they get freaked out. And so I did remote viewing with Max, and I said, there's no way he's dead. He's fine. He's a little freaked out right now, but he's fine.
Well, why don't we take a look at the photos that...
Only a little freaked out?
Only a little.
Yeah.
He knows
about
it.
What happened to me then? I mean, did I go... I mean...
Are you a clone, Miles?
No, they can't make one as bad as mine.
That's what it is.
See, this is what we were looking at. These are the lovely pictures of Dan here. Here's the one that's not Dan, and it really doesn't look like you. I mean, you kind of have reptilian eyes, and you're all, it is a good case for this. I mean,
is that before or after the syringe?
This was
that's after this. That's the after effect of this syringe.
That looks like I'm going to be honest.
Is that not as the syringe was applied?
That's right.
It's
during the syringe.
during. So
that looks painful.
It does. I
Very
feel
shocking.
I feel for him.
I think that's because I've just cut off his left foot.
Yeah,
you started.
I saw that.
I've just eaten Dan's left foot, so
we
he's
started
actually
this
in pain
already.
because I've eaten his left foot.
I felt that.
Now, Steve,
Okay, you guys, who's ever met a clone here? Any of you guys actually met a real clone?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're talking to one.
How would you discern? Is there a way to discern, or it's impossible?
It's there's about a 2.5 to 3 second delay in responses.
You
Well,
serious?
really?
As if they get a command. They'll run their programming and behave like anybody else, but if particular issues, there's about a 2 or 3 second delay.
So, Max, you were saying.
Okay, Dan,
Hold on
when
a
were
second.
you born, and who was your first school teacher that you fancied?
What's your favorite color?
1, 2, 3.
Hall.
That's
Mrs.
it.
Oh, no, it's too long of a
Mrs.
delay.
Hall,
Come on.
blue.
Okay.
I think I'm going to get injections. I'm going to get a lot of injections
Wait,
tonight. Is
wait,
that right?
Dan.
That's right.
Hey,
You're
we
going
got
to
to
need
trigger your memory, Dan.
inoculation.
Hold on. Here, bend over. Come on, let's do it. Here we go. I got you. Now.
Okay, now show that picture again. It's exactly the same. What?
So, Max, you said that we're talking to a clone. So, what did you explain?
Well, about a month ago, I was having some problems with this body. The heart was giving up, and I asked my people if we can do a replicated body. We don't call it clone. We just say it's a duplicate body, and they made another body, which is the one I'm using now, and everything is a lot better. Only a few things have changed. But
Max, come closer to the video because you look like you're 25 years old. I mean, it's amazing with these bodies. You look like you're like no more like 30 max, right, Nicole? Since he got his replacement, don't you think?
Yeah.
6'11" now.
He's 6'11".
He's no longer 6 foot.
It's funny, actually. You should have Joanne Summerscales on. She looks pretty good these days.
She might be a clone too. Yeah.
But
Nice.
he has no gray. Max has no gray.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm going to be 63 years old tomorrow.
So,
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
So-
birthday.
well,
Thank you, honey.
so Dan, how do we know it's you? Can you, let's see, does anybody know any body markings Dan has, like your tattoo or something? Should you show us?
Show us that
How do we
mole. Show us
know?
that mole on your butt.
How do you know about that mole on his butt?
Everybody knows about that mole.
Oh,
Everybody's got a mole somewhere that you
Yeah,
hide.
but which side?
Okay, all right. Now
That's
you've
what I
done
want to know
it.
today. It worked out.
Now you've gone and done it.
We have to see.
Now
your
you
tattoo or
have to
something.
see. Well, the thing is I when I was manufactured and mixed together by the military industrial complex. Now I remind you, these guys can screw up a wet dream in Technicolor. Really, they really can screw up a dream in Technicolor. A wet dream.
No,
A wet-
that's a clone.
I think
Oh,
that was
wait,
a Freudian
no.
slip.
We got a clone here. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I don't know about
it
this.
was
Clone
Freudian.
is slipping up. Clone is slipping up. Nope.
But
Come on, Dan, show us.
During
Show us
that
the goods.
process,
Show us
what
the
they
goods,
do
Steve.
is they label you DARPA inside. And DARPA inside means that you have a star constellation. And this star constellation actually is of Zeta
Orion.
Reticuli.
Zeta
Actually,
Reticuli.
it's Zeta Reticuli with Tau Ceti in the middle. And if you look at Marjorie Fish and Betty Hill, her depiction of that map, then you will see that these spots are exactly aligned with the Marjorie Fish and, well, actually more to Marjorie Fish's because she's an astronomer. And it actually shows what the Hubble sees, minus the 3 stars. But they label where you come from. And this is on a lot of other people, not just this, but whatever species they were hybridized with or human.
Is it always in the
So-
same spot? Where do they put it on the body? Is it on your where you showed us just then? Is that the same spot?
It will appear in different places on different, like I came from a group of 5 individuals that came from the same batch. The batch has a number. So I really wasn't born with a name. I was given a number, 812, 712.
So it's not a barcode, it's a constellation.
It's a constellation, and that is a star map.
Interesting.
And
Now, Dan, does that prove that you're an original because you have that, or can that be cloned?
It's in the same place. It's in the same exact place. So I'm the guy, maybe we're hoping for, I don't know, a better Dan.
That's actually a really good point, this. I mean, ID and all that. I mean, how do they determine?
That's how they mark us. That's how we are marked and whatever, wherever your DARPA inside sticker is, like you find on the front of your laptop, you'll see I-Core, whatever. But this is our DARPA inside.
Well,
would that be a genetic heritage, an indicator of genetic heritage, or is it simply a marker of who you are, like a barcode?
It's sort of like a formula. It's like a formula. Okay. The other individuals, the other 4 doc members within there, had the same marking, but in different places.
Genetic formula.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and it's basically like they take a look at it and go, okay, that's who made this. They go back and they can find out exactly what's in the mix.
The catalog of the formula.
A log of the catalog.
I don't know, guys. Are you convinced, Nicole? Are you convinced that this is the real Dan? Guys?
I am actually. I'm very convinced that he's the real Dan.
You think so? What do you think, Steve?
Well, I've just met him, so I guess so.
No, you met him once before.
I have.
Max, are you convinced?
The real Dan.
I'm 100% that is Dan.
I think you can see there is a constellation there.
Oh yes.
I kind of see it a little.
Yes. Uranus.
The sugar crystal.
Yeah, no, you notice the foot's missing.
Here, Uranus, here, bend over. You gotta get another.
At first, I thought you were pointing at Trump.
Come on, bendy. Yeah. Well, Trump's got a little problem with his eye. He had a little bad reaction from the last vaccine that he had.
It's bulging out.
Yeah.
Okay, there it goes.
Yeah.
Ow.
Oh, come on. No voodoo.
My interdimensional right leg is now missing.
So what's it taste like, Miles?
Yum. Lemon.
Oh, lemon's good. Didn't know Dan was
lemon socks.
So Max, how do we know?
Well, I hope it's lemon, because I wouldn't want to think about it too long.
Oh
yeah,
dear.
I wouldn't want to think that close to the other constellation.
So Max, you're convinced then, and what about for yourself? Like, how do you know, like, what generation, like, how do you know you had an upgrade? Like, you know what I mean?
How do I know I had to upgrade myself?
No, that you received it. Like, how would anybody know, other than your wife, would anybody know that you had some kind of upgrade or change in your vessel, should we say?
Yeah, well, Nicole would know for sure, because she knows how I am, and she knows practically all my secrets. And there's some markings that I have in my body that's actually, it's there. It's there. It's a duplicate of the other one. So it is me, and I don't know what else to say. I mean,
well, I don't know. So everybody, I'm not so 100% sure yet convinced that this is our original Dan. But
Dan.
I might really think I need more evidence. But what about anybody else? Miles, are you okay with that, Miles?
Well, I mean, all I know is that this tastes pretty good, and I think that's good enough for me.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go on that. I'm going to go on that word right there. I'm going to go on that word. Unless Dan has, some other way he can really give us the final proof that he is the original.
I think the only way you could really test it out is he Mac iOS compatible?
No, I'm trinary now. I'm trinary DNA, so I cannot incorporate with binary CMOS technology.
Well, I think that's enough for me.
Anymore.
I can't manipulate the binary equipment. I can't make it mess
Can't
up.
argue with that.
Actually, Dan, this is really serious. I mean, how do you? Being Irish, I have to say this is really, really serious. How are we going to transfer from a binary computer system, which is Trojan, to a trinary computer?
It's already taking place. A quantum dot basically is what we do is we begin to manifest, and as we pray, meditate, and manifest, things come about that we're actually taking dark matter, which is waiting to be created, and we manifest it by thought. And that is a sign of the trinary, the completion of the trinary. I'm only about 26% away from being completely trinary in my DNA.
Okay, we've got two things here. One, Tajinder Gill, who I had to fire as a moderator at the Basis Project, who went Trojan big time. He's being looked at, and there's no point messing about it here. He's been monitored by an agency above the CIA and NSA because of his ability to hack quantum computers.
How does he do that?
Well, the quantum computer, it means that he must be able to get in there at the quantum collapse state and access it. It's
at a nexus point. He knows where a nexus point is.
Yeah.
And if you can reach a nexus point, you can pull some information down, but it's not something that you can actually download lots of information. You have to pick and choose. And so it's not enough, because quantum is an unknowable amount more that you can develop with quantum computing than you can with binary computing. It's very primitive CMOS technology is.
Well, the reason why this is important is because, again, we have this Kanye West video, and I'm going to screen share this, that shows, images of, celebrities, and including Donald Trump, Kanye West himself, supposedly wax museum. That's what they say this is, but we don't really know for sure because we can actually see breathing. So we have to kind of wonder, is this kind of some soft disclosure going on under the guise of, some sort of entertainment? It appears that, they could be clones. So, I mean, the fact that we're having this discussion is relevant because, it's Bill Cosby.
There's no way those are wax.
Yeah, it's replacement parts, spare parts.
Okay. That looks pretty real to me. I mean, that doesn't look, so it looks possible. I mean, it's really, you can see them breathing, actually. If you notice real close on her rib cage here, it's moving up and down. So a wax, look at that, right where my cursor is. So see, they're saying they're wax statues, and you can see the chest moving up and down. So, I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation is, and there's Donald Trump. Boy, I don't know, we're going to get in trouble for this. And that's another thing is that, we can't really talk about these things because it's not appropriate on social media to talk about these things. And I'm going to also screen share something that happened to us recently at the GoldFish Report in terms of censorship. And you can see on Facebook that this has been, you're temporarily restricted from joining and posting to groups until Sunday at 8:10 a.m. And so I was blocked for several weeks on my Facebook account, or I should say on the GoldFish Report Facebook page. And so this is really censorship. This is major censorship. And for anybody who really has any questions about that, it's definitely happening. So when there's sensitive subjects that are going on, they do censor us. Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, well, so a colleague of mine, I won't mention her name, and another colleague of hers were in Switzerland recently. And they're archaeologists. They're not talking about something really horrendous. But because they'd interviewed Jesse Ventura on one of their shows, they just interviewed the guy. He's had TV shows. He's a former senator. I mean, goddamn, what could be wrong with interviewing a guy who's had public television shows and talking about it? Well, they found that when they were in Switzerland, all of their Facebook, banking, and every single account they had between the pair of them and any connected accounts based on the group that they were running, all switched off one by one in the space of about half a day. They weren't, because they'd interviewed Jesse Ventura. So when they were in the United States, were able to switch things off while they were in Switzerland. But I mean, what the hell's wrong with going to Switzerland? They were in Geneva. So, and then they were
Exactly.
switched back on when they returned into to the UK.
So we don't know. I mean, we don't know really from that kind of video. And of course, you know, that's, you know, we were blocked. In fact, our last GoldFish report was removed from YouTube because they came up with, you know, it wasn't even the video I was screen sharing with, because for education purposes, which is what we do on GoldFish Report, there is fair use for brief, you know, educational discussions. No one's making money off of the video. No one's distributing it, and you know, for profit or anything. And so, you know, there was permission given to us to use the video. Ultimately, and they did say it didn't come from them. So what has happened is, you know, we have suffered in alternative media and become the butt of a lot of jokes because a lot of disinfo does get out there. And, you know, here we're, you know, today we're trying to make light of it, but it was quite serious for Dan, and it was quite serious for all of us because it really, you know, put us all in a position where we had to kind of, you know, step back and really think about the position that we're in media, and we want to try to be responsible in presenting information to people. We certainly, at least I can speak for the GoldFish Report, we have no intention of misleading anybody, but I you know, think that we need to do, people have to use their own discernment and do their own research as well. So we do the best that we can to present information, and I think, Steve, you know as well that on GoldFish Report we interview the people themselves. So I mean, I can't.
You do as much vetting as you can, but people have to make their own decisions ultimately. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, I mean, Steve and I are avid researchers, both. I mean, Steve spends a lot of time doing his research too. So, you know, there's times when things resonate with you and times when they don't. And even, you know, people with big names in alternative media, you sometimes don't resonate with it because it doesn't really make sense. I mean, Steve, I'm sure you've come across this. People
Well,
you want to believe them, but something tells you.
That's right. Sometimes the message is pure, and I think we've discussed this quite a lot. That you have to. It's more a feeling that you get. Does it resonate? Does it ring true? And I think that's one of the keys for the future now, because we have been presented for hundreds of years, thousands of years even, lies, blatant lies to manipulate us as humanity, as a race. So I think, as a species, so I think we have to now, in order to break the bonds of these lies, we have to move into a period of self-empowerment, and the big part of that is our ability to decide what is true for us and what is not, what we wish to have in our space and what we would want to reject. That's what's coming up now.
Well, that's interesting because I know Max does readings for people, and I don't know how much this comes up, Max. So people ask you about other people who have been in the media. Do they ask you about whether, you know, oh, I heard so-and-so say this, or I had a reading with somebody else and they told me this? How often do you find yourself validating or saying, well, I don't see it that way, or what's your experience with that? And Nicole does this as well. So Nicole, please comment on this.
Well, a lot of times exactly what you just said, and a lot of times they come to me to validate what the other person has said. I don't know if I should mention names, but I'm not going to do that. But this person's well known everywhere. Okay. But anyway, and I do have to verify a few things, but they're not always right, because when I tune into a person, I tune in a different way. I tune into their energy, and I have created many ways how to tap into the subconscious mind and find out the right information. And I just do it very different than others.
I'm very
Go ahead, Nicole.
I'm similar to Max, where if I can focus in on the person, and I can do a remote viewing of not just time now, but I can do a past, present, future, and kind of do a composite of it, and I can see what has happened and what will happen. But it's been pretty reliable whenever I use my remote viewing just to see, just to confirm things. And I would say 60 to 70% of the time, there's a lot of really iffy information that's put out there. And it'll come true. Like I'll hear later on, whether it's a couple days, a week, a month, oh, this was, bung, it wasn't right. And so I say, well, yeah, I know that because I looked at it. So
Right.
there are many of us that are able to do that. So we just need to trust what we're able to do and absolutely question everything. Don't take everything at face value.
Well, that's what you have to do. You do have to question. There's a lot of people who, I think, on the internet who, well, let's see. We had Duncan O'Finian on recently who was talking about the whole super soldier, and I don't know if Dan wants to comment on this, but he was.
We're going to talk, being Duncan.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I'm going to just prove I can have a hissy fit better than he can, okay?
Yeah, okay.
I believe you, Miles. I think you're the winner. You're already the winner.
I don't know. Wait a minute. I've seen Duncan on Facebook.
Duncan is
Two Irishmen.
You
Two
know,
Irishmen going at it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, I tell you, Christine Joanna Hart's former partner, Paul Stevenson, is from Northern Ireland, right? And we're going to do a show together. And you are going to hear, as you well know, anybody from Belfast can speak about 100 times faster than anybody else. The bloody planet, it just goes on and on and on and on and on, never stop. And you heard every word I said, and we know where you live. We're gonna be head to head, I think, on Revolution Radio soon. And God help anybody else listening.
Well, look, I just want to say this because, so Duncan did come out and he talked about that he felt that there was a real fraud aspect among this whole super soldier, I guess like
Max Spears.
It was like a gimmick, like the ones who are real super soldiers like Dan and like Duncan, these guys really, Dan came out on your program. Miles, you did a fantastic, phenomenal interview. I thought, Dan, this was so, I watched it so many times. When you interviewed Dan.
When was that?
Was your clone?
First time I heard.
What it was, but it was, I have to put some light on, man. I'm losing light. It was a phenomenal interview, and it shed us so much light on the whole, involvement of these programs. And Duncan was, trying to explain that there's some people who are out there talking who don't know what they're talking about, and they're only getting information from those who have had the experience. And then they go out and try to say that they have the experience, and they're not really part of it. And Duncan has said on a GoldFish report that I probably should have had him come on today. That he was approached and asked to go out and to say things that didn't happen, to like embellish or to things like that, and he didn't want to take part of that. And I have to respect him for.
Well, I respect him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, I mean, it's like these are
nobody would want these experiences. Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. This is not Hollywood, Hollyweird, however you want to call it. This is not something. I mean, even while Miles and I were doing the interview, I had damage to my left eye, and
yeah, I remember that.
He had the same exact thing within hours.
Yes, yeah. And to be perfectly honest, I was struggling like hell during that. And I interrupted probably more than I normally do, with more gibberish than I normally do. But that was difficult.
Well, I have the same damage from the camera. The microvision camera is gone, but the hole is still there in my left eye underneath the iris. And the damage was done. And like you say, I had it removed.
Now, something you probably don't know, guys, is that the BBC has now shown major interest in this story of Max Spears being bumped off in Warsaw.
Well, we saw, it's been on RT, so Russia Today.
They have?
Yeah, I reposted it on the GoldFish.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that they're allowing it to come out, or they're trying to do damage control?
They called him a conspiracy theorist. Oh, don't you love that?
So they control the narrative.
Yes.
What happened was it hit, for some reason, the national press, broadsheets, everything in Britain decided to do a story on Max Spears, regardless of who Max Spears is, and let's hold that to one side altogether. But they have chosen to run a story on every main street, the Times, Telegraph. Now, I then was asked to appear on BBC Radio 4. Now, that is big, heavy stuff. Now, they recorded an interview with me at 3 o'clock. And I went the whole hog. I talked about manipulation of soul energies after death. I back referenced it to John Irwin, where his training in 1959 involved going beyond death. That's the whole point of John Irwin's book, One Step Beyond. So I pushed the concept of being able to engineer human energetics after death, right? Now, putting it in a nutshell, they edited that in on a 3-minute piece out of an 8-minute interview at 5:30 prime time, drive time in the evening. They put that in. Now, this isn't the BBC. If you're live, you can say what the hell you want. Maybe they'll sort of cut you off. This went through a 2-hour editorial decision, and they put that in.
So what does that tell you, Miles? What do you think?
It tells me that the BBC... Now, and the other important thing about this was, and I only realized this I was told this a couple of days ago, the BBC used the report from the Daily Telegraph to refer to the backstory on this. So the announcer, Eddie Mayer, used the summary, or the reporter used a summary of the whole thing from the Daily Telegraph, which got strategic dates wrong. But those dates were actually Aquino's birth dates.
Oh boy, this stands. Wait a minute, Miles. Here, let me help you with your memory. Here, bendy, come on, let's go. Get one. Here you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You got that one?
Wow.
Okay.
It's time for Dan. I know.
Another bite, Miles. Another bite.
Oh,
there you
yes.
go. Max is next. Steve,
I feel it.
I've had enough already.
I know you've had enough.
Just watching.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. So I mean, these super soldiers. This is, like Dan said, this isn't anything that you really want to experience, and
no.
And these are experiences that they didn't willingly, sign up for. And just so our viewers know, I mean, we have a lot of. There's occasion when we have whistleblowers who come on, and these are. I just wanted to point. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
While you're looking, let me just ask Dan quickly. This alleged clone video, Dan. Have you got any comments about that? What is that? What do you think about that video?
You mean the video, the one that she just shared with the pictures?
Yeah, with the clone.
It's like,
do you think it's real?
It wasn't me. It wasn't me, because there were things discussed. And I believe that these, more than just these two individuals, were actually, when they were doing remote viewing, they were being held within what Andy Basiago refers to as a synthetic quantum environment. And it's a Zeta technology from the Nazi Zeta Antarcticans who have recently been shot to pieces. But basically, they had the ability to create a synthetic quantum environment, like a bubble. Andy talked about Barry Sirotto taking a flare gun, because Andy just kept going, something's not right here. And they were supposed to be teleported to Mars, and he took out a flare gun, fired it, and it bounced off of the.
It was a holodeck. It was a holodeck. Yeah. So,
Yes,
yes. I don't know whether we want to go there today, but you mentioned that with the energies are coming in, and some people are experiencing headaches, like myself.
Yeah, I'm experiencing a headache as well.
Dan, did you want to explain that?
It's not the lemon cookie. It's not. It's not the real
maybe,
Dan.
maybe Max
explain that,
knows.
Dan. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Max might also have some insight. But go ahead, Dan. You go first.
I shared a picture from NASA's Soho Lasco C3 with Steve, showing him on October 17th of this year. And I don't remember the exact date. I think it was 7:45 a.m. UTC.
Is it the one I have, Dan? Do I have that one? Can I screen? Is it the blue one or the orange, the red one?
It's the blue one, which has all of the stripes. it basically looks like weapons fire, but it's actually the cosmic radiation
No,
that is
I don't
stimulating.
I don't think that's the one I have.
Okay, well, let me see if I have if I can pull it up.
Sorry, what kind of radiation, Dan, was that?
It's an extremely intense cosmic radiation that stimulates the third strand to coalesce. And since this bubble, the synthetic quantum environment's been destroyed or brought down with the incident in Antarctica, where the shielding indicates or emanates from, this shielding was protecting us from getting this upgrade in our DNA. And as a result, now we're getting it, but we're getting it all at once. And that's why Steve previously had difficulties with headaches. We've all had difficulties with headaches.
Really bad.
They've been very severe.
Yes.
Max, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead. Max, did you have any comments about that? Or you or Nicole? Are you guys experiencing the same thing, or is there some other reason? I mean, in addition to what Dan is saying, is there other factors that you know of, or is Dan pretty much, does it sum it up?
Well, actually, Dan is saying everything that needs to be said. Louisa, I got to tell you, I'm not feeling very well right now.
Okay.
I got a fever. I got chills. And ever since I had the shots put in my knees yesterday at the veteran, I've been feeling kind of not here.
All right.
And I was wondering, that I'm just going to leave the show here. I'm not feeling very well right now.
Okay,
Max, before you go, could I ask you a question?
Yes.
What are Adatone particles? Are they something to do with a reality differential of some kind? Adatone particles.
I'm sorry, but
he's not.
Okay.
Why don't we'll pick this up later, and we'll get back to you on that. Max, we hope you feel better. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the program.
Okay,
and y'all,
Nicole.
Everybody here, have a good time.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. We hope you feel better. We're gonna all send you some. We're gonna send you some love and light. Okay, and
Very well.
Good energy, Max.
So I can help heal him. So
yeah, go ahead, Nicole. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
and
much.
we're going to make sure we mention your website at the end of the program. I'm sorry, Max isn't feeling well, and this, it's interesting because we're talking about it right now, and suddenly Max started not feeling well. We're not really quite sure why.
A lot of us have been having weird symptoms, and I myself have been having a lot of different things going on, all the way from nausea to headaches to digestive problems, not being like wanting to eat but can't eat, wanting to sleep but can't sleep, and then really sleeping like so much that I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Dan, it sounds like you sometimes when I hear your messages.
That's my take on it.
But anyway, Steve can't sleep. It's going around. All right, well, feel better. And thank you for joining us, Nicole. It's good to see you.
All right.
We'll talk to you
God bless you all.
Okay. We hope Max feels better.
Right. I've got an interesting thing to add here, if I may. I don't know whether our friend, I won't mention her name right now. I don't know whether she wants me to say that, but she's a healer.
I know who you're talking about.
And let me tell you the story she told me. That she was during a healing session, I think it was, and she'll correct me, I'm sure. She went up she was taken by certain higher dimensional groups, and she had a blood transfusion, or they were filtering her blood, cleaning the blood out, and she didn't know during the session, and I think they were doing it to her patients as well. And in order to prove that what was happening, the patient was blue when they came out of the trance, or they came to, or they realized what was going on, just to prove that she had low oxygen, that she was cold, that there was a physical reaction to what was actually going on in the higher planes. So what happened was that after the patient got an email saying that the elite, whoever you want to call them, are having blood transfusions to clean the effects of the environmental pollutions, the chemtrails and things, because it's gotten to such a stage that they feel that they need to clean themselves, their blood, of these toxins. So whatever that means, I just want to throw that in the room.
So you're talking about dialysis, because that cleans the blood.
It sounds like dialysis, but I think it's far more advanced than that.
But if it's a transfusion, wouldn't everybody have the same pollutants in their blood? So you're just transfusing the same blood. So it seems to me that they would have to go through a cleansing process.
Cleansing process. I'm probably using the wrong word. I saw the image when she was describing it to me, and I saw like a dialysis machine. But but she said it was a cleansing of the blood. That's what it was.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, so I just want to throw that into the room. So for people out there, so I'm sure people are experiencing strange things at the moment. I know I am. I don't know whether it's just because I'm tired or traveling, but
okay. Dan's got the image up there. Thanks, Steve. Well, because I think we're all experiencing these things, and I think our viewers can maybe feel a little relieved to feel like maybe if they're experiencing strange symptoms too, that they're not the only one, and that maybe there's a reason.
I've got people reporting severe swishing in the head, like clicks and whistles and all sorts.
Oh, that's
of
only
stuff.
in the UK because you guys are drinking too much.
Well, it's only a difficulty. If when we're dealing with PPAI, if you're hearing or smelling burning feathers, this is the first sign is when a person smells burning feathers, and the next one is binaural clicking taking place around them. It sounds like almost
PPAI. What is that? PPAI. What is PPAI?
Miles, you want to talk
pathological programmed.
It's a predatory pathological artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Predatory pathogenic artificial intelligence. Pathological. What did I say?
That sounds like
Where's Alfred? Just for the record, Alfred Lamront Weber was supposed to join us today, but unfortunately he had a scheduling conflict. And if Alfred was here, he would have set the record straight on that one. But
he coined that phrase.
Right.
Now the black goo, of course. Miles has a lot more data on the black goo and data.
Two types. I've still got a Russian who's got to tell me something, but he probably won't tell me that. I know I've said it, but anyway.
Dan, were you showing us? What were you showing us there? When you show us the picture, you have to talk so the camera will.
Okay, October 17th. That energy burst came through and was recorded by the. NASA's SOHO LASCO C3 telescope. I'm trying to bring up the image so I can see exactly and give you the date. It was, I'm sorry, it was not, I apologize, Steve. It was January 17th at 2016 in January 17th at 23:18 hours UTC time. Universal Time Coordinates. So that was back in January of 17, not in August. Or I said it was in October 17th of this year. But these type of storms are coming through the cosmic energy. And it's so high that it really doesn't actually, it's not what you would consider radiological ionizing radiation. Yes, thank you. It's not ionizing radiation. It's extremely, and it's designed to increase the Schumann resonance of Mother Earth, and it's designed to increase the evolutionary acceleration. And
that's important because if it was ionizing, it would destroy DNA. That's the thing. It's non-ionizing. Yep.
Good point, Steve.
It's bringing in what they call junk DNA, which has been threaded by the Anunnaki. What it's doing is it's allowing all of the dangly bits, as they would say, to take on a negative charge down where the telomeres should be, and it causes them to coalesce back into, and then the telomeres began to grow rather than shorten. So
that means that will extend our age as well, because
yes, your lifespan will increase. Tremendously because
when the telomere is regenerated.
Yes, because the 3 DNA strands, eventually each one of the 3 develops their own 3. And as they begin to grow telomeres, you end up with 3 strands having 3 strands each for a total of 12 altogether. And as these telomeres begin to grow and get longer and longer, they actually fold back on themselves, and you have yourself a tesseract. You create a tesseract of 12 strands, and it's only at that time that we can actually live in the fifth dimension on a permanent basis, by which we began to develop a crystalline versus a carbon-based body. Our
So my understanding
body is changing now.
That's right, into a crystalline. So my understanding is that the strands, the other strands that we had initially were separated interdimensionally. So we just need to reunite them interdimensionally, and then we will have all these telepathic, these creational abilities. They'll be restored. Is that correct?
And as this planet and this entire what we're in, this construct, gets closer to the monastic ring or the photon belt or whatever you want to call it, what's happening is you have a collapsing of the different constructs. There's 1,728 constructs.
It's like a merging of timelines.
In a 3D setting, you have 1,728 constructs of about 0.0201 degrees apart. And as we're getting closer to entering into the fourth density or fourth dimension, which is a complex term for what time perception is. Our perception of time is what we call 4D. And we need to spend a certain amount of time developing our third strand, which began to prepare us for moving into the 12 strands and preparing us from moving from an old piece of coal into a diamond, or from carbon into a crystalline structure, where we literally manifest by thought. But we need discipline. We need to discipline our mind. We need to cooperate with our bodies and our minds and our brothers, each other. And those, in this dimension, like poles repel one another and opposites attract. In the fifth dimension, it's just the contrary.
Who's moving around? Is that you, Miles?
Miles, yeah.
Miles.
So Dan, if I'm understanding you correctly, we have to mentally prepare ourselves for the change, and the more we mentally prepare ourselves, the smoother the transition to this DNA upgrade. Yes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, and as we calm down and as we love one another, and in the fifth dimension, like people of like mind.
Miles is so restless. Wait a second, Miles. Wait a second, Dan. I'm sorry. Come over here, Miles.
I'm not moving. About doing anything.
Come here, Miles. You need one of these injections. Get over here. Come on. Bend.
Got
it. There you go.
Another bit of Diana here.
You got to get that in there.
Yeah.
Miles needs it, obviously.
Miles is getting a little restless. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Van. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well,
Miles was getting a little restless.
Trust me, Miles. There's no Attenuvax in that real Dan there. There's no Attenuvax vaccine to guard against alien sexually transmitted diseases.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, Solians.
It's too late, Miles. Too late.
Too late, Miles.
Control A and B.
That one night stand you had
wait
up with the spaceship.
This becoming a men's locker room here, or what? Come on, these kind of comments are, men's locker room.
Well, actually, as we're going
the last bit of Dan left.
Oh, okay. So
save
now
the last bite for me, Miles. Hey, how come you didn't share one with everybody here, Miles? You should have had those FedExed over across the pond.
No.
Everybody had a little piece of Dan.
No. Well, actually, everybody does have a piece of me. If you love me, then I am in your mind, and you love me. And
that's a beautiful thought.
We're connected. We're connected, and we'll never be parted.
Oh, that's a really beautiful thought, actually.
We're getting down to the very last part of my mind. My mind is going like HAL 9000.
I'm just making it quick and painless.
Okay,
quick and painless.
My mind is going. My mind is going.
There's a symbiotic relationship going on here, and it's dwindling, and we're losing Dan. But not.
Shall I sing the Daisy song?
Not for long.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
go on, Miles. The two of you should do it. And
Daisy, Daisy. I don't know the rest of the words.
Give me your answer, do. I'm so crazy over the love of you.
Look at this. He sings
I
on the
can't-
GoldFish
I-
report. Come on. You
I
give
cannot
him credit.
afford to cherish.
Listen, we're meant to be serious conspiracy theorists. Well, no, not theorists. We're, oh, God knows.
Therapists.
Therapist. There we go.
Conspiracy therapists, huh? Yeah, and that's the other thing, we're all, so, the funny thing is about these conspiracy theories is that, if you don't go along with the status quo of mainstream media, then you're automatically considered conspiracy theorist. But I kind of look at it, in the sense that what we have is an obligation to investigate things. This is called academic inquiry, and this is what you do in research. And you have to, our great philosophers and Aristotle and Plato, and they all had to sit around and ponder, these not cloning questions, but can you imagine what they would think today if they had cloning and they had to start thinking about this? And
I disagree. Actually, no, I think they were as catfighty, bitchy, and childlike and juvenile as we are in our great philosophical minds today.
That's right. And they have the ability of critical thinking, which most humankind do not possess today. The people here have critical thinking rather than circular logic and fuzzy logic.
Don't let that get out, Dan. Don't let that get out, because that doesn't mean we're status quo. That makes us a conspiracy theorist if we have critical thinking. And so what you're saying, Dan, is that Aristotle and Plato were probably ETs, right? Is that what you're saying? Because they possessed some great ability that just did not exist in the population at that time.
I'm saying that us, you people here, can see things as they are because you have common sense, which is not so common anymore.
Uncommon sense.
Well, actually, Dan, I actually do a lot of work for some very nice people here called the Francis Bacon Society.
Oh, yeah.
And the president or the Chinese president shown an interest in this. Now, the observation about Francis Bacon and the detailed analysis that they're going, forget about 9/11. I mean, forget that. That's just so modern. But the stuff about Francis Bacon, there are key elements in a lot of the stories. As you know, Francis Bacon wrote Shakespeare, and you got John Dee and all these sort of characters, right? There are key elements within certain parts of the story and where those stories come from, which one of the specialists said it made Francis Bacon a time traveler.
I heard that Shakespeare was an illegitimate son of the monarchy.
Yes, and manifested jewels.
Unless that's a conspiracy theory too.
Well, he has actually. They have his shoes that are jewel encrusted because he could manifest jewels, and these jewels were pristine, and he wore them on his shoes. He wore them as embellishments.
Hold on a second. Steve, you're falling asleep, Steve. Come on. Get over here. Let's get another injection. Come on. Oh, there you go. We got it. we gotta wake Steve up. I saw him falling asleep
Put it in here. Put it in here.
So the other side here. Hold on. Here, bendy, Steve. Here we go again. Wait. We got to get that ready. There we go. We got
that's so much better.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got my phone I've got this phone from a London bordello. I'm going to have to call you up on my phone. Hello? Weighs about 6 kilos.
Shakespeare's there.
Yeah.
I've got one of those, but it's not quite as antique.
Well, I think this is a genuine fake antique, but it's got all the original old telephone bits in it. If you plugged it into your modern telephone line, the damn thing blows your modem. Well, it's old. I think they need 80 volts to run on from the telephone line.
Right, and over here it needs 42 volts. But
the ringer's 80 and it takes 50 to run on.
Oh wow! So I couldn't really ring you up.
Well, if you rang me up on that, and I was touching the two I'd certainly know about it.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, one of the things that kind of convinced me that this is the real Dan is when I sent him a message initially about the whole cloning thing, he complained that why would they want to clone him, because he's had so many injuries, that why would anyone, like, he was like almost looking forward to getting a new body. So, and that kind of made a lot of sense. So it was kind of a very,
I was malfunctioning. That's why I'm actually was talking about it. Duncan actually asked me to go and verify what I had heard from an 05, Lieutenant Colonel Special Forces, that saw him go into Cambodia and saw him as a weapon system with 11 other children and a handler, and saw him. And I was inside. I was sent to kill this man, to assassinate this man. And
in the MK Ultra projects, just so for our viewers who don't know your background, Dan, it's not that you were like willingly doing this.
No,
this was a mind control program that you were triggered to do. Yeah,
sleeper assassin.
Right.
And I got close to this fellow, and I could see the dead bodies, and I could see him weeping. He was one of the. He was the officer in charge of Central America, 5th Special Forces Group. He was the officer in charge of assassinations for Central America. And this man is the top assassin, and he's weeping as he's seeing his enemy singed and carbonized and smoking, smoldering. I could smell the flesh, and he's weeping, and I'm weeping, and he's weeping. He said this in front of like 200 to 300 people. And I started weeping. And at that point in time, there was a connection made between he and I. And when I looked at him through the sights of the weapon, as I drew the weapon to shoot him in the back of the head, I saw myself being shot 20 to 30 years in the future. And I began to shake, and I couldn't do it. I liked the guy. I don't know how to tell you.
So you broke the what happened was the programming broke down, and then you couldn't, which was good, but it was bad. But I mean,
he turned around and saw me and ran off.
Right.
But then again, I flipped back over into another altar and had no idea on the failure aspect of it. But why would somebody want to clone a failure? Because I malfunctioned so many times. That's why I was a problem child that Max actually got to see a lot, because I malfunctioned a great deal, and ended up.
This was at Area 50 or S4. You're saying when you were over at S4.
Yeah, because I got interrogated so many times. Once I applied for a job with a federal agency, and you have to write down all the drugs you've used, and of course, being it's a long list. And
from being in the program, you're saying, not because you've used them, the program has used them for interrogation and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. And when you're undercover, you have to be able they ibogaine you out so that you're not affected by these drugs, and you can function.
So they can pep you up, and then they can put you down, and they can do all kinds of things like that.
Well, the key is this list was extremely long, and I was sitting between a panel of there was a panel of people, and there was a woman on there, and she asked me about, tell me, have you ever experimented with drugs? And I said, no, never.
Not of my free will.
and she's digging, and the other two guys are looking at me, and I'm smiling. And she's digging through all these papers and says, what about all this long list? I said, I never experimented with drugs. I was in full scale research. So let's clarify.
Yeah.
And the guys were laughing, and she was mad. I didn't get the job.
Well, this is what happened. So, Duncan had, I guess what I want to start doing is kind of closing things up a little bit, because I really wanted to focus on we have to use our rationale. And so once you get to know Dan and you realize that there's just a lot of things that would, they were, like you're saying, maybe, who would you want to clone? And the people who, why would you want to clone anything? You have to think about some kind of real reason that you have to kind of clone somebody, or even an animal. But I think it has been announced, though, Miles, hasn't it? That video Kanye West did, that's not the first announcement of this. It didn't make it into the mainstream media. But haven't we been cloning humans? Or is this, I just thought I read it in some scientific journal, that like an Italian journal or something. But is this?
Well, the whatever they've been making important down was for use, quote, on the lunar bases. The Brits, the British. And it's very interesting that James Casbolt's in a jail not more than about 3 miles away from where I am right now, which was used for the Nazis, World War II. And
always symbolism, always.
Yeah, and it looks as if they were here during the war, and they were swapping the cloning and bioenergy, the body technology for them to start doing that here during World War II.
In the UK.
In the UK, because it connects right into the bases here at Boscombe Down and all these other bases here, and there's reptilians and stuff here.
Well, I mean, I think, from some research that I have found, I think that there were 12 what they're called cedar races that started the human genome. I mean, that we were manipulated, we were kind of bred out from.
We've been heavily downgraded.
Yeah, I mean, we just did not evolve this way. I don't know for sure, but I don't have any firsthand experience with this. But I'd like to. This is an area of, genomics is definitely an area, a subject of study for many people.
Each race is one strand.
Wanting to understand really, the evolution of. Look, we're all different. We're different colors. We're different sizes. We're different.
We're all ETs.
It's a little bit. Well, I think you have a point, Miles, and it makes
beautiful because
this diversity.
I mean, our original bioform was Sasquatch, that type of a body shape.
That's
right.
What I look like.
Who is doing that?
Yeah, Miles, it's got to be you. Only in the UK we have these.
I'm not doing it. I'm sitting here trying not to move at all. God damn it! I'm on a concrete floor.
You're a novice with this engineering.
And now for something totally different.
I'm kidding.
I think it's.
No,
I'm aghast.
Actually, I think it's someone from the Office of National Director, the Office of National Director of Intelligence, the ONDI. They run
the ONDI.
The ONDI, yes. James
Clapper. I've got this book about that thick. I only bought it because it says the Vatican Assassins on it. I haven't read it, but it looks good sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, it really does.
But now I'll have to get another book with the ONDI written on it.
Right, and if you put it in front of your chest, it stops bullets.
That's useful.
Well, that's useful.
It's really useful for.
I only need this book, sir. If they're going to charge me $100 extra baggage, I'm just going to read this in case I'm assassinated. Oh, by the way, I'm dead. I should be dead. You know that? They assassinated me on a plane in Dublin. Yeah,
you were poisoned, weren't you, recently, Miles? What happened?
Yeah, I was poisoned with death adder venom. And then the other one was just ordinary adder venom. And my whole arm swole up with like 1,000 ants marching down each arm. And then it just went through all over me, and I sort of just had to get in the car. I was stabbing myself with bite sticks, the antihistamine thing.
Oh,
and just to sort of, my hands were so a billion ants crawling in my hands, and it got everywhere.
How can you get a puff adder? How can you get injected with puff adder venom?
Well, I was maneuvered into lifting a case on the plane. These two old ladies beside me, I was bumped up to priority seating. Cutting a long story short, when we landed, one of these old ladies got up and to open the overhead locker, and this other guy with them literally took this woman's arm, patted it, and pushed it down. So then, me being the decent gentleman that I am, opened up the overhead locker and simply took this case, which was in front of my laptop, so I had to move this. And then this guy took it, and he took it by taking the handle. But I mean, I had both hands around the things that got into my hands. Now, it took about 36 hours to really start getting in there.
Right.
But by God, once it was in,
So it's transdermal, you're saying?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, they use DMSO.
Poison.
Now, yeah, so and the thing is, okay, forget about all that. The point is that Simon Parks put up on his website that I had been poisoned with a neurotoxin. So then I phoned him up about 3 or 4 days later, and he said that his contacts and he mentioned some kind of letter agency with an M and something in the middle and 5. I don't know who that is.
Yes. Let's not talk about that little thing in the middle.
Yeah. No,
that
not
little thing in the middle is classified.
Yeah,
So
that's
he heard
classified.
it independently.
And they said it was the I'd been poisoned from a sect of the Temple of Set. Sorry.
Set.
The Temple of Set. I can't do a Michael Myers accent.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was-
I am Dr. Evil. You were assassinated. I see. I should have died.
Yes.
And then nobody told me about this, you know. And then another person came up with the same stuff. And my friend, I don't want to say her name, she did a remote view thing on it. And she said it wasn't the case that had the stuff in it. It was remotely put into me energetic.
like etherically or something? Or?
SCIO. It's called scalar SCIO.
Yeah.
You can be poisoned using SCIO military-grade machinery, which produces the venom of a specific type. And I have had the same experience. In fact, I showed you the picture earlier of being infected as I was wounded.
Well,
Yeah,
I have
probably
to tell you,
but the thing was, my doctors looked at this and they said, we don't know how this happens. And we don't know how to, and gave me a whole pile of steroids to take. And once I heard,
you're actually
and
now
I
you're
dumped those,
immune.
I just dumped those.
Yeah.
Got rid of them.
Yeah, but you're immune by nature. You are now immune to the puff adder and the standard adder.
It was the death adder and then another adder. I mean, I do have the Latin
puff
name.
adder, yeah.
I suppose what doesn't kill me strengthens me, I suppose.
That's right. That's right. And may you be in heaven. And I'm not talking about dying. I'm talking about being in heaven, to all of us together. It being heavenly. An hour before the cabal knows that you've ascended to a higher plane of being, and we're all going to be alive. We're taking this body with. We've talked to people.
I have to say, you're looking a hell of a lot better since the start of the show. Now that I've eaten you,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
A few injections didn't help. I mean, we didn't have vaccinations.
Yep.
Good
and
for your health.
I have special juice in me that produces. I'm immune to a lot of things. I've had 5 lethal dosages of lifetime radiation.
He's a man of steel. I mean, to survive these things. Let me tell you. So
there used to be a DJ in the States called the Real Don Steele. Are we talking about near the real Daniel McCall?
Yeah, we're gonna
the many lives of Dan. The many lives of Dan, huh?
Well, a friend of mine who helped me design the lenticular fighter. It's a spacecraft. It's an X-wing lenticular spacecraft. Died a week and a half ago on Sunday because they did not. He owned the design on that lenticular craft.
And someone wanted it.
Well, they took it, but they butchered it, and they put old 1950s and 60s Bayfield Brown lifters on it and collimators to control the yaw, pitch, roll. And it looks like a piece of it's a piece of crap. And now instead of a fighter, they're using it as a non-human cybernetic unit transport, because they can only carry 40 people on this thing with the equipment with these NHCUs.
Well, I just want to say that I think that after everybody on the panel today kind of weighed in and kind of gave you a really good vetting, Dan, I think, it's I'm confident to say this is the real Dan McBolin here. And I think that, that in case any of the viewers, because I saw some comments, some people were very upset.
Do I get I get a score? Does somebody actually get to put a score?
No, actually,
only when we play bingo.
What you do is you get a BBC television license.
Okay.
There you go.
There it is.
My bona fides.
You're now bona fide. I put it too close to the candle. If this burns up, I can't watch TV in this country.
Oh my goodness.
You have to have a license to watch television?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say in closing, I think we should kind of start wrapping this up here, and I wanted to say thank you so much, Dan, for joining us and setting the record straight and clarifying all of this, because I think, it's good to put it out there. There's a lot of disinfo out there, and we have to use our discernment. We have to use our critical thinking, some common sense, like Dan said, to try to sort through all the information. Miles, again, just a pleasure for you to join us. Why don't you tell us in closing, if you have any other comments about these disinfo, and but what do you have coming up? Do you want to tell us what are you working on right now?
Well, basically Max Spears. Now, regardless of who Max Spears really was and what happened to him and his association with James Casbolt and those 40 children, those British children that were his mother's admitted to him. I don't want to go into too much detail. The bottom line is this has hit big time the newspapers in Great Britain and also echoed across the world. The BBC is now doing a full-scale documentary on Max Spears. They're in Poland right now, and none of the Poles are talking to them. There's already a documentary in progress for mainstream television, which was being shot anyway. Mm-hmm. So me being allowed to being specifically edited in to talk about engineering people's souls and energy bodies after death is on mainstream Radio 4. So I think that the logjam, now what mainstream are going to do with this is another thing. But this is now, this kind of stuff that we're talking about is now being listened to by journalists who want to pay attention. I've had almost a week of phone calls and things. So now 2 national network documentaries being made on this, and they're talking this kind of stuff.
Hold on a second. Steve, are you with us? I see Steve. Okay? He's kind of drifting off there. I know.
I'm still alive.
I'm sorry, Miles. He's on the other side of the world. I just see Steve kind of like losing.
Well, that's because he's upside down. One of the bolts must have fallen over.
I'm hanging on to the ceiling.
Yeah,
when you're below the equator, right? Exactly. You have that funny.
But that's what's happening right now.
That's great.
Okay,
mainstream paying attention to what we're talking about right now. That sort of stuff.
So are they asking you questions specifically, Miles?
Very detailed questions, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not falling about laughing.
But why are they not releasing the autopsy? I saw a report.
Okay, right. In terms of Max Spears, he not a single story pans out, right? Mm-hmm. Not a single normal. There's only 3 types of events which could have happened. He simply died of a peptic ulcer, right? And he ruptured something. He was spewing black. This is based on what Monica Duval and other people in Poland has told us. That we can only go by what they've said, right? He was spewing gushing black liquid out of every orifice, unquote. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't taken to hospital to deal with this. Why not?
Right. That doesn't make sense.
Normal thing. Then he dies. And we're not too sure how many times he died, but according to the interviews, he died once and then died. And then they demonstrated him jumping on top of a trampoline. This is a guy who's been spewing black stuff out of every orifice, and then he have dancing on top of a trampoline. There's not a single line of inquiry which is valid, which has got any common sense.
Right.
The story is that they used certain drugs to get access to his. This is the paranormal bit. Mm-hmm. They used certain drugs over a period of several days, and ultimately, when he left his body, they then were accessing his personality. They wanted to find out what his alters were doing, retarget them, find out what the targets were, retarget them, and then put them back into his body, reanimate him, because they were working at him. They admit to themselves admitting 6 or 7 hours after his so-called death, and then they released a video of him after that, and this was the goods. This was them selling him for ransom as a weapon system.
I see. So I see.
There's no way the individuals concerned in Poland, there's no way they're going to release a body which has got any incriminating evidence on it that's going to point back to them. Ergo, there'll be nothing in the autopsy.
Gotcha.
Right. If there is anything in the autopsy, because he is a secret weapon system, there's no way the British are going to release any information to let us know what the hell really happened, because that's going to be releasing classified stuff.
Right, because
Exactly.
they want to clean slate him and reanimate his dead flesh and
Yes.
recycle him.
Yeah, and Monica, his own mother didn't go to identify him.
Mm.
His sister did, and nobody's actually quite sure that the body that arrived in this country is actually him in the first place.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this is technology that a lot of people are not familiar with. Yeah.
There is a photograph of him with a big black blotch on the front left of his thing, on the front of his. I don't want to show the photograph.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that means on the front of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And another smaller one over the other. Basically, above the eye, there's a big black patch in the 2 hours after his death. Basically, the other basic point is that, and this is only summation. We don't know whether this happened. I mean, there are people here who are innocent until not even arrested or proved. There's nothing. This is postulation and allegedly, please, on all of this. But it's based on what they told us.
Miles, why do you think there's the interest now? The interest. Why do you think there's the interest in the media now? It's coming out. Why is it coming out?
That's a completely different thing. There's no way it's in Max's interest. It must be in the interest of some other agenda.
Okay, I see.
And the point is that when he died around about 10 o'clock. Again, he died at 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock. There are different. The person concerned would not release the body to the authorities for another 10 hours, 12 hours.
Doesn't sound right.
So there's two illegal. There's nothing. If you try to adopt the most sensible, least harmful scenario, that he simply died of a ruptured ulcer or some kind of thing, and Vanessa, the mother, says if that's what happened, that's fine. She's prepared, but nobody's giving her any answers. All the results are blank, and everybody's keeping stum. And now it's hit national press. And there's a lot of people asking questions. And as I say, well, I don't know.
I think a lot of questions are coming up. I mean, even just that these things are possible, and all the things you talked about just seem so science fiction to the average person, that it's, the fact that it is getting this mainstream coverage means that, I mean, here they label them a conspiracy theory, but then then they describe all these strange things that happen.
Yeah, but then the Daily Telegraph.
You're reanimated.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
You cannot.
Vanessa, his mother, agreed on that. Me and Vanessa came up on that conclusion. So what's bouncing on top of the trampoline is a reanimated Max Spears, demonstrating that they've actually accomplished their goal of reanimating him and getting him working.
Trying
That's
to get
the working
circulation.
model.
That's trying to get the circulation back in through the body. After the reanimation, because they actually make you do that, and it also stops the blood from
coagulating
damage to the eyes.
Okay, well, we're heading at the hour and a half mark. A little bit about that, which is a little bit high for us, and we want to just try to close this up. And
sorry, I've got to say this.
Go ahead.
These are allegations, conclusions based on what the individuals in Poland have told me, Kerry Cassidy, and Vanessa, and also from the three interviews they put online. And any allegation that Stuart Sverdlow was involved in this is absolute lunacy, because Stuart Sverdlow is not as stupid to be involved with this kind of an operation that would in any way I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Well, he just seems like he's doing his own thing. I mean, I don't know why it would even
the letter M and that secret
but I don't know.
Symbol and the number 5 are dumb enough to
exactly
exactly.
So
they're like the can't identify anything agency.
Okay. Well, guys, let me.
No matter what way you look at this, there's no way you're going to get a result on this in the public domain, and that's it.
I see. You're not going to hide it either.
But you know what? At least it's getting some attention, and what it's doing is it's raising awareness that there's other things going on, and we might not really know exactly what's going on, but there's other things going on. And, at least the question still remains in people's minds. And why would they want to, why would this guy have these, disappear under these or be, or die under these very suspicious circumstances. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. I love each of you. I thank you so much for joining us. And Miles, we're just so honored that you could come back and be with us and give us these updates and
Well,
have a little fun.
I have to say,
have a little fun with us, Miles.
I have to say that I think there's maybe a crumb here of the real Dan. And
So
I'm
look
going to
at
send it off to analysis, and I'm going to check out the DNA evidence.
Okay, or the DAN, or the DNA.
That's it. The DAN.
We're going to put
DNA of the DAN.
DAN. That's it. You see what I'm saying? So, look, what we're going to do is we're going to
be careful with it. It's the real thing.
That's the real thing. We're going to verify that, but I think we already have verification of that. So
lemon, and that lemon is got to be good.
Let me just screen share what I want to share with our viewers as we're leaving. Is, of course, this is our GoldFish Report Facebook page, and you can visit here. This is a 24/7 news site that is constantly updated, and of course, all the WikiLeaks information is been shared on here, as well as other news stories, and some other great, satire. We always do the Politico. Comics, and they're really usually quite funny. But this is a little bit more of a serious issue that we're going to leave on very quickly. What we have is we have a GoFundMe site, and this is to support our warriors that our super soldiers and our warriors and whistleblowers who have to go through extreme kind of circumstances to really kind of come out and get their stories out. And so we encourage our viewers, and of course GoldFish Report doesn't ask for a subscription, but we would hope that our viewers would, if like the kind of programming that we're bringing you, in order to continue to bring it to you, we ask that you support the guests that we have on our show. And one way you can do that is going to our GoFundMe site here and make a contribution, which will go towards our whistleblowers who need expenses to come forward and bring you the information that you tune into the GoldFish Report to watch. So if it's the kind of viewing and the kind of information that you want, there's only so long that we can provide it for free. And the fact that we can provide it for free to the viewer is also, there's always somebody having to always cover those expenses. But this is not for the GoldFish Report. This is for the people who we bring on to the GoldFish Report, because we don't pay our guests to come on. So it's really to help them and to help the people who need the help to bring this information forward, to share it, and to get the questions going that we're talking about the subjects that we're talking about today. So it's on our GoldFish Report Facebook page. You can see it. I'm screen sharing that. And I also wanted to let our viewers know that we have a very interesting interview coming up called the Pleiadian Interview, and that's going to feature Cobra and a previous guest we've had on our GoldFish Report, an individual by the name of Audrey Ewis, who is from New Lira. And his story, how he came and was intercepted in the Nevada desert and crash landed and was held at Area 51, has all been presented in a previous GoldFish Report. But this is going to be before the end of the year, and of course we're not going to announce the date because we have been hacked big time for having been released in the past. So we will not be releasing any dates for this, but it will be before the end of the year. I also wanted to thank our guests. I wanted to make sure that our viewers knew to go to the Basis Project on Facebook page, and also to go visit max21d.com if you wanted to learn more information about Max and the work that he does. And also, please find that interview with Dan on the Basis Project. Do you remember what number that was, Miles?
Oh God,
Dan.
No.
Because this
What's wrong with you?
There's a couple there, I think, and then there was the
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to give the wrong number. Just put the name that Dan
what happens?
McFall in, and
I'll have it. Dan comes up every time I go to the GoldFish Report page. So the Facebook page usually comes up. Oh, it's Basis 53. Here he is.
Yeah.
So that's
of course.
it. Yeah, I got it.
I'll have to ask my colleague Richard Trickadilly Hall, richplanet.tv about that.
Right. And so I wanted to let our viewers know to visit our guest websites, to go to the Facebook page, please, and make a donation and help support our whistleblowers that come out. And also, we just want to thank our guests for joining us, and follow us on Facebook, on WordPress, on our blog, and also at thegoldfishreport.com. And this concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report.
And thank you.
Much love.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Louisa.
And good to see you looking so well, everybody.